February the 7th. Welcome back to week number 5. This is class number 5. We're going to be continuing using the Photoshop production techniques we're learning in this module, and I'm going to swing the camera over right now, and we're going to continue with where we left off from last week. All right, so I'm going to dedicate my camera now. I got one more item left to put on your marks, and that's going to become very, very soon. I think I'm going to do that actually this week as well. It just we have a lot of students from a lot of other semesters, and to do the admin work on the back end does take a little time, but nonetheless, we're in good shape. As long as you submit your assignments and your projects on time, you'll eventually get your marks and stuff for that. The one that's coming up very quickly, this is like the big one. It's your first project in this class. It is the actual movie poster project that's due on the 11th. I do believe I gave you this until the end of the week, so you have an extension. So it's not due today, it's due like on Sunday. Okay, so make sure that one is looked after, and we should be pretty good after that. I have a few more assignments I'll talk about later. The YouTube channel has been updated as well. I teach the UX class as well, UX UI for the second semester. A lot of my students are asking me for access for the previous Photoshop channel that we had set up as well. And because what happens is this, you won't have access to the courses once you finish the semester. You have limited access for a duration of a week or two after. Once it's done, you don't. So just make sure you save this link, because I'm not going to delete this channel. So you can always go back and watch these videos as we record them every week. So right now it is pretty much up to date. Just keep track of the order. Sometimes some upload faster than others, and the order is not exactly perfect. I would like it to be perfect, but maybe I can see if I can arrange it as well. Okay. So that's hopefully that's doing its due diligence, and it's helping you review some of these lessons. I know we're doing things online. Could be a little challenging sometimes if I'm not there in person to answer questions, but the nature of this class, I mean, even from before days when we taught it in person or in class, I'm getting the same results. So that means it's working both ways. So I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. So moving forward, this is class number 5. So if I go back to the modules here, I'm going to have that visible for you. Now it says deserted island exercise. This is like an overall review we do around this time of the semester before we get into the advanced digital imaging parts of the application. Like you can see here, I got photo retouching, and we have the book cover that's coming up with the next big project I'm going to give you. So to execute the poster, I don't know if I've taken the approach of setting up the actual size and some of the other things. I'm going to take the opportunity to do that today with this one in particular. So if I open this one up, you'll see it's something that it's just buildings.zip. So we're going to use this as a review file after. Before we dive into this, however, there's another file I want you to work on today with me. So that's going to be a continuation of where we left off last week. And it's part of these exercise files that ask you to download. And I do believe this was just an image access file for all these images that we used in the lesson. Rather than that, open the folder that you got from last week, which you can obtain even now down here under resources. So remember layers and selections. This is like from the very beginning of this course. We started with the layers. We started with the selections folder, and then we moved on to the layers. So today we're going to finish this folder as well. So both of these are successfully I guess, executed, and then we can go ahead and tackle the next items that we have. So having said that, if you go to your folder from last week, which I'm going to do right now. Oops, Photoshop. We did do some AI work as well. From what I remember, we made a texture in AI generated in Photoshop. We also got an image that we amalgamated, and we did do some fancy typography work with textures. Things like you can't produce in Illustrator and InDesign and some other design programs. Photoshop really shines when it comes to like texture creation, development, and that kind of stuff, right? No point intended when it said shines because we got the gold here. We also produced some other stuff from scratch, like rain and other type of scenarios where we implemented like layer blends. Okay, so layer blends were part of the first thing we covered last week. So these are the most popular layer blend modes that we used, and we went through all the important layer blends like multiply, screen, and hard light. And we also took a quick look at the other ones that were there also available that are popular, but not as popular as those. We went into some effects as well, and that's when the gold and the textures came out from this file. This was more like a movie poster design, and we did emphasize some of the typography with some of the drop shadow effects. We also emphasized some of the planetary effects as well, like the inner glow. We did the inner shadow, so this was also part of the exercise from last week. Okay, so and then we segued into the layer masks. Okay, this was also considered a very, very powerful and advanced technique in Photoshop, where a lot of professionals love to use layer masks to produce these other types of, I guess we'll call it transparent effects. And when this was finished, we were able to, let me just open one up here. Just for reference purposes, we were able to utilize this technique in many different ways to produce creative effects. Okay, some of it could be like technical, like removing parts of an image to reveal the trees. In this case, like make it look like the helicopter is hidden in the distance, and we use layer masks for that. Other ways you can incorporate layer masks to, hide and show other elements, whichever way you see it, right? So just to quickly review layer masks, I'm going to have an exercise file. I'm going to do it. So just remember from the video from last week, you can go do layer mask, reveal all. Oh, I like to just click on this thumbnail down here in the middle. That gives you the layer mask option. It's funny, it has a quick little tutorial on it as well. I like these little tutorials. They do take up some space and eat up a chunk of our memory, but they do work quite well. So if I go ahead and click on that, you see like a thumbnail show up on the right side of the layer here. And then it's all about executing the brush and using like a positive or a negative fill. In this case, it's black and white. And you can see where black works as an additive. It adds to the mask, and white is like a subtractive element, so it subtracts from the mask. And utilizing these two techniques, you can pretty much do a lot of interesting things in Photoshop. Even some of the more advanced adjustment layer techniques and some other layer techniques, you can utilize this feature. Okay, so make sure you use it well, and watch the video from last week if you're not quite sure how this works. But I think we did like 4 different examples of each and every type of use scenario, and I hope that kind of opened your eyes to more creativity and ways you can utilize this technique. Okay, so that was the layer masks. Now, we also covered some of the more miscellaneous things like what are smart objects, remember destructive versus non-destructive, image sizing, and so on. The one I left for today is called L2, which is lesson 2 layers. Okay, so this was the one that covers everything in a nutshell. So it's a good review exercise file. This also becomes one of your in-class assignments. So you are going to do this and hand it in. I think I'm giving you like a week to practice with this. I know it's late at night. I don't want to stress you guys out doing this today. So maybe like for next class, make sure you submit this file to me. I just want to make sure the assignment is properly uploaded here. So under class exercises and assignments near the bottom, because I got the modules first, and then I got the class and assignments, then I have the projects. And then Roberto gave me an email and told me that he revealed the composite assignment. So I'm pretty excited to talk about that later today as well. So that's also in here. That's also available. And I'm going to make this visible as well. So this is due next week. It's called Advanced Composition Assignment. So it is tied in with today's review. So if you do click on it, you can see that basically have a brief description on what it is. So for this advanced composition assignment, you will follow the instructions and complete the entire composition in Photoshop using all the intermediate advanced methods demonstrated in the lesson. This will cover and review all the methods learned thus far, reiterating the important techniques applied in today's digital imaging techniques. So good luck and have fun. So basically, you're going to complete the entire exercise. I'm going to do the lesson first, of course, to show you how to do all these things. And this is the time if you have any questions and you want to ask me certain things, you're more than welcome to in the process. You're going to give me a Photoshop file to hand this in. And feel free to add your own creative touch to maximize the overall presentation. So I just always leave that as an option for you. And if you download this exact zip file, this is where it's located. So this wasn't visible, but now it is. You can access it. And I'm just going to open this quickly here to show you what it looks like. All right, so here it is. It's the same folder I pointed out earlier, okay? So Tuesday, February 14th. I don't know why it's Tuesday, because it's supposed to be Wednesday here. I'll just change it to Wednesday. Oh, never mind. This was, it's not updated from last semester. I do apologize. Let me just fix that right now. So we're going to go 2024. Right? So just for Valentine's Day, just in time, okay? So February the 14th, which is next week. Perfect. Now it's good. The date was right, but the year was wrong. And I'll have to do this for the next assignments that we have because we forward the semesters from the previous ones, and of course we do updates and stuff, but some of these dates you have to like manually overwrite them. All right, so it's, these are small exercises. It's only like out of 3 points, but it does add up to your overall mark. So make sure you always attend to these and do a good job as you have already. So that's the next one here. Speaking of assignments, there's only 5 in total spread out throughout the semester. In the beginning, I know I give you a few more assignments just to keep you engaged, especially delivering this remotely. The other ones are, nicely spread out. This one's due in the middle of the next month, and this one's due close to the end of the semester. So you do have 2 other assignments that you're going to be given, as well as another project. Once you do the movie poster, you're going to do a book cover assignment just in time for the reading week. That's what we call it, and perfect time to do a book cover. And then that's the main projects in this class, okay? And the only thing is in addition to that, is your composite assignments, which you were introduced to in the other classes. These are fairly connected to the other classes as I mentioned. So for this one, there's a Photoshop element to it, and I'll explain that a little later. Okay, but and there's 2 of those. Okay, so that's pretty much for the whole semester. All right, so I hope it's nicely spread out. I mean, I did do a good job mindfully keeping that in mind and giving you different dates. So I think you should be okay. And you did get briefed on your composite assignment. So since I'm here, I might as well just quickly open it. All right, so you are doing a creative composite assignment. I believe it's the different, it's like an ad campaign that you're choosing. And, without Photoshop, I guess it'd be very difficult for you to produce some of these nicely, I guess, images and other types of creative ideas. And not just Photoshop. I mean, realistically, you're going to be working with multiple software. Like when I work with some of the projects that I'm, usually doing from day to day, I use all 3. Like I would use Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign together to get anything done. So it's a good way for you to experience this exact same approach by utilizing Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign together. Okay, so that's why there's all these components that you have to be mindful of when you do hand in the composite assignment. So for my expectation here, you're going to be demonstrating the Photoshop techniques learned in class to fulfill the objective for the overall final presentation. See the PDF attached for more details. So it's a social media ad size. So aside from your print design advert that you're doing for the magazine, I also want you to create, because social media is a big proponent of marketing and advertising as well, so we can't really, skip the social media aspect. I know you're probably not doing this in the other classes, but besides print, we're going to focus on producing things for social media. So the ad size is 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels. I also put 1200 by 628. This was an older size that Facebook ads used. This is more like an Instagram size. So it's more like a Facebook or an Instagram format you're going to work with. The other, social media channels and networks, if you want to go with LinkedIn or the TikToks and the other ones, I think this size will fall in that spectrum pretty good. Except TikTok, of course, more like a video thing, so that's disqualified. But for images and stuff, this size specifically, it's like a square dimension. It'll be good for all the social media channels. Okay, so let's look at the PDF for the magazine advertising campaign. So as you know already, the main handout is given to you by, I guess, Roberto for the page layout class, and you're going to be creating a magazine advertising campaign. It's a 3-ad magazine. The only component I'm adding here is a web social ad. It goes hand to hand because once you get your creative done, it's very much in line with just resizing it to fit the social media aspect. And there's a separate grade component administered for this assignment in each class. So you're going to do stuff, let's say, for Illustrator. I believe Sheila has you for Illustrator. Then you have, I guess, Felicia for web. And you have also Roberto for typography. I don't know if there's typography involved as well, but I think there's like an Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign for this one, okay? There's a next composite assignment that you might get, and that'll involve the web stuff as well. So for the digital imaging Photoshop class, you require the following items upon submission of the campaign project. So these are some of the things that you want to hand in. So proper image optimization of CMYK and print resolution of 300 dots per inch. I want to make sure that you know how to do that and execute it on a level that professionals do when they do create print advertising. So all the images that you're implementing for InDesign, you're utilizing high resolution and the proper format for print. Because don't forget, RGB is for red, green, and blue. That's for the screen. It's for web, for video and multimedia, where CMYK is for print, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So you want to make sure all the color plates are exported properly so the printer can understand the work and you're not going to get any printing errors, okay? Let me just show you one of the jobs that I'm working on right now that has a similar setup here. It's a really busy folder here, but let me open up this rodent pack dent brochure that we're working on right now. And you can see this is an InDesign file, but I'm utilizing a lot of images from Photoshop, some Illustrator stuff, if it's like logos and vector files. But a lot of the stuff, as you can see, is, you know, pretty much high quality. Sometimes I can't control every image that I'm using, but this is, you can see here, this is it's like a brochure. So this is like would be the front. This is the back. Okay. These are resins for 3D printers that they use in the dental industry. So we're just producing these and manufacturing them and selling them here in Canada. They're from the US. And notice how this is the stuff in there. So when it comes to like things like tables and text boxes and images, this is where InDesign shines, right? But when it comes to these nice images, this is when you have to import them from Photoshop, okay? So now this file has been revised many times. Maybe this is a good example. See, this is a transparent image that I can definitely edit from Photoshop and then implement in here with text boxes and other graphical elements. This logo here, for example, right, is a vector file. So this would be like done in Illustrator, right? The whole layout is done in InDesign. And all this digital imaging stuff is done in Photoshop. So it's a perfect example to show you and something that I'm doing right now. Okay, so this is what we're producing. The end result is this. So this folds in half. So it's like an 8.5 by 11 folded in half document. And this is how we prepped it for the printer, right? So this is how it looks like on the printer's end. Now, I haven't done the crop marks and the bleed marks yet, but when that's done, you're going to see the marks come up here on the corners. And we're going to print about 5,000 of these, and we're going to distribute them with our mailer. We have a magazine we associate with, and this goes right there. So you can kind of see here how this is put together, right? So that's the front, that's the back. So it's like a folded mock-up view, and then this is the inside. So the inside, I use the darker contrasting color, so it does stand out. So it's not too much white space everywhere. So it has a nice cover from front to back to get the contrast going. This is like the best resin on the market right now, because I don't know if you guys know much about teeth, but when you do have a replacement tooth in your mouth, as you might do over time, now they use like a bit of porcelain, so it's a little more realistic and a little more natural for your mouth and your whole healing process. So this is the stuff we use for that particular case. All right. So you can see how creative design is used in many industries, and this is just the dental, and you can see how messy my files are because we do a lot of different things with these products, okay? So good example to what you're doing right now. The difference is you're creating ads, okay? And same thing with the ad. Let me just show you the ad here we did. Notice how the ad has, so this is like an ad we ran in a magazine. Notice how the ad has the crop marks, the bleed marks, and the registration marks. So when you print this out, or give it to any printer, this is exactly how it's going to be processed. You won't see the white edges because they'll be basically cut. And this is an advert for that exact brochure that I showed you. Again, utilized in, this was done in InDesign. And of course, with the help of Photoshop and Illustrator, we're able to put this thing together. All right, so that's the ad portion. And I'm sure maybe Roberto's going to show you how to cover the some of the other pre-press components that are essential for you creating a proper PDF for print. All right, let's go back here now. So print-ready file formats are to be saved for the web page layout documents. Layer masks are to be used. So basically, I want to make sure you use all the stuff you've learned so far. So yeah, show me some layer masks on your creative design, because I'm going to open the Photoshop file and look for some of these things. Various selection methods are to be demonstrated along with images. I'll be looking for things like cutouts and stuff and how well you used the selection methods for that. You can't show me the selection method, but you displaying the actual design, I can see that how you've utilized it. Layer blends, okay, we covered all this stuff like last week. So if you watch last week's video, it's going to cover all these important things. And the layer blend is the stuff we went to. Remember, multiply, screen, and darken, all the other different layer blend modes, which are very effective when it comes to creative design with images. Layer styles I put are optional, but could help with the overall presentation. Layer styles is how we did the gold texture last week with a nice AI prompting a texture to show up. And we use text to extract the gold from the background. And we made a nice title from it. So this will definitely elevate your typography if you want to use textures in this case. At least one filter is to be applied, subtle or drastic, to achieve any effects. So the filter, again, is something that we did in the first week, whether it's an artistic filter, a creative filter, or you can do like a blur or a sharpen or something along with that. There's tons of filters in Photoshop that you can use. Good luck and have fun. So these are pretty consistent throughout even the next composite assignment. The whole thing is to utilize all these techniques in a creative way. Sometimes the argument might be, hey, I don't need to use layer blends. Like, it doesn't fit with my narrative. I'm like, that's fine, but make sure you implement some other techniques to compensate for that. And the challenge is, if you do use all these, how would you do them creatively together? So make sure you just follow the criteria and implement as many things as possible. Even like for a subtle background, a layer blend could be used. So there's always ways to incorporate these things. Some other popular questions students asked me was, hey, can I use Illustrator? I'm not using any Photoshop stuff. Okay, that's fine. We can still bring Illustrator into Photoshop and do some photo manipulation with your illustrations and then bring it to InDesign. So there's always a way for Photoshop to be involved, even if you're using straight Illustrator or, kind of like illustrative style design with your advertising and page layout. All right, so that's pretty much what's happening here for the deliverables in this class. And this is due March the 6th. So you have like 4 weeks for this. You have a lot of time. These are like the longer projects. All right, so nothing to stress over. You have a lot of time, but obviously don't wait till last minute. The sooner you get started, the better. And this is it. We'll talk about the web and social ad another time. We'll prepare like a file that big, right? Which I mentioned over here. So this is a social advert size. So whatever you do in your print advertising, you're going to reproduce it to fit social media. Just kind of resize it basically and produce like 3 of them. So 3 print ads, 3 social media ads, and you're done. I will show you some student examples later on, okay, to demonstrate how this was done by other students. I'd love to show you that. And that's it. That's the composite assignment, okay? So I would start thinking about that as soon as you can. Make sure the main project is done, like the movie poster, because that's due for me this week. And you're pretty much good to go. All right. So let's go ahead and finish that exercise now that I have. So if you go back to the folder here where I left you last week, okay? That's my winter folder here. Class number 4. I think I moved it over to class number 5. This is the abstract exercise. Whoops, I'm sorry, that's not the right one. That's some of your files that I downloaded. So from last week's folder, in the layers folder, if you open that up, it's L2 layers. The same thing you can do right now if you were to access the Blackboard. And if you click on the actual class exercises assignments. This third one here, which is due next week, advanced composition assignment. You can get this done tonight with me. So this could be like done out of the way for you. You don't have to even think about it, okay? So do this with me now and you can get this done. Just click on this. It's the same thing as accessing the files from the folder from last week. You can do either or. It's the same thing, okay? So I'm just going to do it from the website because some of you maybe not have the file. So I'll click on this one here, and this will compensate for today's module because we're doing an overall review, and I have an additional exercise that we're going to be looking at just to kind of fill in some of the review elements, and I want to make sure everyone is on point. So this exercise here will basically demonstrate to me that you are in line with everything that you've learned so far in my class, okay? So let's go ahead and download this right now. I'm going to click on this little zip file. So you can do this, like I said, this or that, same thing. I'm going to go right to the desktop and we'll get started. All right. If you have any questions, please ask me. Anytime you can just speak out. You can raise your hand. I can always look at your my Teams app back and forth. Making sure I'm connected all the time. All right, so I can see everybody here. Very good. All right, no questions. All right. I don't need this window. I don't need the YouTube channel. All right. So what is this? I think I got it twice. Oh, man. When you repeat yourself too many times, that's what happens. All right, so I'm going to delete this. I already extracted this, so it's going to become this folder here. So just make sure you do that. All righty, so here's the folder. It's called Advanced Exercise Layers folder. All right, what I really like about this is, besides the review portion, has all the steps outlined right here. And honestly, by finishing this, it is week 5. We're kind of transitioning to the intermediate level of using Photoshop. All the basic stuff's done. We covered already the first few weeks, all those simple selections, layer stuff. So now we're getting to the more advanced layer use. And without layers, Photoshop wouldn't be the application that it is. So all these important topics are being covered with this one technical exercise. So here's your instructions. One says, I'm going to just double click on this to open the PDF. So one says start the document by opening the PSD file called layers start PSD. That would be this file right here. So once you open that class, let's do it together right now. Open it up. This is the actual file. All right, this is an application banner. So if you're wondering what is this image here, what applications banners look like is when you go to About Photoshop, it'll display what the banner looks like. If I click Command, click About Photoshop, let's try it again, Control, how about Option? Oh, no Easter eggs on this one. Usually when you hold a shortcut together and you do a Shift, I'm holding Shift. This is a Photoshop application splash banner created for the app. Illustrator has one, InDesign, for all the Adobe programs. As a matter of fact, all applications have something like a splash screen when you open them. This shows you some of the developers, the version, the year, and this beautiful artwork, of course, that's done in Photoshop. And more importantly, the person like Zhao Kuniko did this work here. So some of these professionals or students are chosen from the Behance community, and sometimes they just use other sources, but a lot of them contribute to Behance, which is a design community, and they get chosen for these splash banners. So the splash banners used to kind of look like this, similar, and with this format here. So this is what this kind of is. And in my web production techniques class, I think we do a splash banner in Illustrator. So it's a nice little project to embark on when you're using these creative applications. Okay, so now that I opened the file, what's the next step? Let's see here. Open these windows together at the same time. I do have like another monitor, but you just can't see. The presentation gives me one monitor to display to you, so that's why I have to do this, side by side thing. If I were you, I would definitely like have two screens. You can even watch my lesson on like a tablet, and then with your laptop, you can execute the exercise, right? Two computers also you can use if you have two computers or a monitor maybe. If you have a monitor and you have a laptop, you can split the screen so you can kind of watch me on one screen and work on the other screen. So right now I mean, you can do it on one screen. You just have to kind of do what I'm doing right now, back and forth between the shifting applications. So I'm just going to zoom out. I think this is good. So start, here's the file here. So merge so you're going to learn how to, merge documents, how to scale, how to blend. So this covers the layer blend techniques, how to mask. Okay. This is quick mask, by the way. I think it's a layer mask actually. So it's a layer mask. So effects, okay, clipping and saving. So all these are important techniques that you're gonna use in Photoshop to get this done. And it's a perfect exercise in week 5 for the semester, just to do an overall review and to cover all these things. Now, this is a prepared file already for you. As you can see, there's a lot of layers already. You can just uncollapse them and recollapse them like this, as I'm doing. Please make sure this is visible for your screen. Make sure you don't have like your properties taking up your whole page, for example, or the adjustment layers. And then you're kind of doing this with your layers that you can barely see. This layers panel should be at least 70 to 80% of your interface size. So I always tell students to just minimize these other ones just by simply double clicking. You're allowing the layers panel to take over. Okay, so give it some nice real estate on your UI, user interface, and make sure you can clearly see all your stuff. Here we have like a background layer. We have some layers here, and the layers are some of these effects that we have. We have some kind of a gauge that we're going to use. We have a text layer here that we're going to implement, okay, which is this text layer here. And we have some images that we're going to utilize from externally to this file here, okay? So all these things will be executed with this one file. Okay. I don't know why this mesh is coming on, this editing stuff. Okay, good. All right. Recording's on, sharing's on, good. So let's get to it. Let's go ahead and get the next step. So we'll open up the file. Now we're going to merge two documents together. We're going to open up tree.psd, which is a separate file in that folder that you extracted. We're going to select the move tool from the tools panel, drag the tree layer from one document to another document, and reorder the layers if necessary to be above the background. So basically we're combining files, which is merging documents, with the next important step. So the next document is under the folder here. So I'm just move my screen over. Maybe I'll do this. Move this down here. Move my screen here. All right, I think I'm good now. 200%. Maybe this is another way you can zoom out instead of using Command minus or Command plus. It's a little too much of a step between the two. Well, I want in between 100% and 200%. You can see here. I want to do 150%. So I'm going to type in manually 150 here, press OK, and I'm getting a perfect size right now in front of me so I can work with. One thing you don't want is to struggle with scrolling images or areas that you're working on back and forth. So you want to make sure everything is visible right off the bat. Okay, so everything is here now, and there's my handout. So where's this tree file? There it is. It is a Photoshop file. Doesn't matter if it's a JPEG or a Photoshop or anything. You can still open it in Photoshop. Okay, so I'm going to just double click or just do that. It should open in Photoshop. Surprisingly, this image is really, really small. And for me to move it here in this document, what you have to do is two things. And I know we did this a few weeks ago. You can literally drag this like I'm doing it right now with the move tool. You can drag it up here to the tab where the document is. I'm holding the mouse, and I'm using a mouse, by the way, not a trackpad. I'm going to go all the way here with the mouse. As soon as I let go of the mouse, the tree becomes part of my document, right? I'll demonstrate that one more time. I'm just going to press delete. So again, you're moving this, like literally moving it with the move tool all the way to this tab until it highlights to the document. Keep moving it. So up. What goes up must come down, right? Same kind of saying. So you go down here. As soon as you release it, it shows up. Okay, so it's one way to merge documents. Another way is traditionally, if you want to dispatch this docking window here, you can just drag it down here. So it becomes a floating window, if you like that. You can just simply go drag and drop. Okay, that works too, but then you have to look for the window that you kind of opened, and you can either close it or put it back or redock it. I'll just close it and don't save it. Step number 3, well, there's 4 or 5 probably if I keep going through all of them, but let's just kind of stick with the ones that work. You can also go drag and drop, this way. The only thing is you have to acknowledge this bounding box. You have to just resize it and just press enter and then put it in place. Okay, so that's another way to bring this image into another image. Okay, very important, of course, especially when you mix images of different sorts. Now, the next step is to actually reorder it so it's above the background. Okay, so I want to make sure that's the case, and it is above the background. So maybe I'll just put it here. You can even leave it alone, as long as it's at the top of the layer order. I think it should be good to go. Okay, so we'll put it right there on the hill. All right, so the next step, scale. So open like I did scale the trees, by the way, but I'll do it with the balloons now. So open the balloons PSD, select the magic eraser tool, another tool that we haven't really used that much, but we'll experiment with it now. Click on the blue sky in the balloons document, drag the balloon layer to the layer start PSD, select edit, free transform, and scale the balloon down. So it's a scaling exercise. So if I open up the balloons, you can see it's a quite large of a balloon. As a matter of fact, it's bigger than the document because you can see this is 150. This is like 100, right? So if this was 150 or 200, you can see it's a little too big for this document. A lot of times you'll get sources from the internet or other areas where the images might be too small or too big for you to use. So you have to obviously scale them appropriately for you to amalgamate them with your work. So let's go ahead and use this magic eraser tool. It's located under the, we'll look for the eraser. Think of the word eraser. So it's usually in the eraser tool. The eraser tool just does, erases the background. I know a lot of people, old Photoshop users would just use the eraser to erase the background. So obviously that's not how you do it, right? The background eraser tool, okay, does kind of the same thing if this was a flat image, not a balloon. But what's more direct and fast, you can use the magic eraser tool. So this acts like a magic wand, but an eraser at the same time. I could have went to the magic wand, selected the background, press delete, but this one does all in one. So if you use the magic eraser tool, pretty much the one that's referring to here, magic eraser tool. There we go. Okay, so we'll go here, click on the background, and it should just, automatically delete the background layer. It works on simple backgrounds like, blue backgrounds or white backgrounds or anything in that regard. And it should work nice and easy for this one. I'm going to grab the move tool and simply move this balloon up here, down here, let go. And obviously it's too big to scale. So I'm going to, or to fit. which I'm going to use scale to make it happen. Just move it down here under edit, free transform. I'm going to use the sides or the corners. I'm holding shift. I don't know if you have to hold shift, but for me, I think I have it set up as holding, because if you don't hold shift, you can actually easily, transform it, right? So you don't want to, or distort it, I should say, the image proportions. So I think for by default setup, you don't have to, but if it does do this on you, then make sure you take into the account to hold shift and just grab the corners to scale it proportionally, okay? I'm going to press the OK button, and there's the balloon situated nicely into my layout, and that's basically scaling and reiterating this merging document stuff, because we did the same thing again, but this time we scaled it quite drastically. All right, the next one is the blend technique. So we did this last week again. Twirl down the triangle on the layers folder. So what does that mean? The triangle on the layers folder. It's referring to this layers folder here, the little triangle. You twirl it up, twirl it down like that, so you can see other items that are located inside. All right, and it says here, which one is it going to? Turn the visibility of the blend modes folder on. So there's a blend modes folder, and then it says turn the visibility of the soft me lights to soft light, turn the visibility of the color me, color light, and then the over. So they're all named accordingly. So if you come here, right, there's the blend modes folder. So it's a folder inside a folder. This is how Photoshop, these are called groups, by the way. These are layer groups, which look like little folders built into the app. When you get more comfortable with Photoshop, this is how you can organize all your work, because you can have like maybe 20 to 30 images. Who knows? I mean, ideally, I would stop at 12 and start merging stuff, but right. So blend modes, open that up, and you can see how these are all the ones that are being called out. Make this a little bigger. All right. Soft light me, dark frame. So let's turn it on. Okay, so obviously on and off gives you that nice soft dark. And this was made with a black brush. You can just get a brush over here, right? Use like black as a foreground color, and just start filling these corners in like they did. But how they did them is with like a soft brush. So the size is quite large, like 150. So then you can really kind of go and grab the corners this way. And then did it more gently, of course, with maybe more opacity or whatever. The point is, you do that, you get the edges to be kind of highlighted like that, and you create the soft light blend mode. So from normal here, I'm going to apply the soft light. Okay, so it's a little soft light. You can see how it creates a nice soft light or soft type of definition on the edges with the overlay of the black fill layer. Okay, so use a soft light. This next one here is called Color Me. So I know we have green here, but we have like a yellow, I guess, yellow layer on top like this. So it's like yellowy. And the yellow and the green create a nice bright contrasting value. But what you have to do is obviously click on the Color Me blend mode from here. So we're going to go to Color Me. Colors right here on the bottom. Okay. I just kind of gave it a more of a impact of the color, just like a nicer green, I guess, because it was too bright of a green. And this is more like a subtle green, more natural, I guess, right? If you find a blend mode that works better, you can always experiment with it. You can also control the opacity, how much it blends, more or less, right? This is before and this is after, okay? So that's how you can follow these steps. And we're here now using the visibility of the blend modes on the image. The next one is overlay me on the blend layer with overlay. So this one is called overlay me. Click on it. That's exactly what's going to happen. But we'll use the overlay function or the blend mode. So look for overlay right here. Overlay. Definitely looks better than normal. And by applying these multiple, sometimes people use adjustment layers and sometimes they use blend modes such as these to produce this very rich, colorful effect and result. So that's what the whole point was, to, you know, use those blend modes to see how they work with not just images, but colors on top of graphics and images as well, as we've demonstrated. This was just a gradient. This was like set to normal at 100%. It's just a gradient, right? So you do a gradient from purple to this orange gradient. Remember the gradient tools right here. You can kind of make your own gradient if you want, or maybe do another gradient. I'll do like a purple. Let's do a purple gradient like this one here. So I can do like a gradient on a separate layer, right? And I can drop the opacity and do what's called an overlay, right? So I think I did. I got to get rid of this adjustment layer here as well. Go adjustment layer, delete. All right, so that's how they can produce the gradients, okay? And then you can see how this was done. All right. I think I hid the other images by accident. Oops. All right. So the gradients here, it's rasterized as well. The opacity is like maybe 60 or 50%, like that. And then, of course, you have the overlay option. So just wanted to show you how the experimentation works to make these from scratch. All right, so then you have that blend mode all set up, and that's how you can see the importance of using blend modes in Photoshop to definitely accentuate certain contrasting colors and vibrance and things like that. All right, so the next one is mask. And again, masking is something we covered last week as well. So this is the important part of reviewing it today. So turn the visibility of the gauge layer on. This is a layer mask, by the way. Reorder the layer to be moved above the strip layer. Add a layer mask. And we're going to select the brush tool to mask pieces of the gauge we don't want to see. So we're going to use black and white in addition to create this mask effect on this hydrogen layer. So let me close down the blend modes layer because this is why I have more space. This is the gauge. So if you make that visible, and let's put it on top of this. This is called the strip layer. This is the black strip on the side. This is the gauge. Okay, so we're going to use the gauge over here. Perhaps maybe we'll scale it up a little more. Right, so this will be like the gauge, a little bigger. And perhaps this looks a little cut off. We can mask this part of the image out of the equation. And we might want to bring it back later. So we're going to be very careful and use a layer mask technique to hide that. I'm just going to move this up a little bit here. I do have auto select layer on. And this is the text layer. Okay. The text layer. So I'm going to move this up a little here. And going back to this gauge that we're referring to here. So this is the mask section of the exercise. We're going to use the visibility of the gauge. We reordered it, and we're going to go layer mask, reveal all. So this is how we're going to apply a layer mask on this. You'll see a second thumbnail show up on the right side of this right now, like that. Another way to do a layer mask is to apply one from down here. Right? Let me just, there's a nice video. I like how they did this new video.
A layer mask allows you to hide parts of your image and then bring them back visible at any time.
Nice and quick.
They can be thought of as a smart eraser that gives you full access to anything you removed from the image. Image information will never be lost or deleted if you use a layer mask properly. Masks allow the opportunity to make powerful edits with the flexibility to change them later. Masks appear next to the layers in the layer stack. To make adjustments, be sure to click on the layer mask. Then paint black on areas you want to hide and white to reveal them again. To cut something out, start by making a selection of the object. Then click on the layer mask icon in the Layers panel to cut it out from its background. Layer masks are also great for editing specific parts of an image, like adjusting color or exposure.
Right. a really, really good example there. I really love that updated video Adobe produced. And it's exactly what we're doing with this image over here. Okay, so we're gonna have this layer selected. We did a layer mask. I like to also use this button as I demonstrated earlier, which was we found the video, right? And now that we have this layer mask applied, you could also use it in conjunction with a selection, but this time we just did a straight application of it. We're gonna use the paintbrush tool. Okay, I do have black and white selected. I'll put the black on top of the white background, so I have a black foreground color. And I'm gonna use this as a mask just to kind of hide this part of the image here. All right, there we go. And that's exactly what happened with the black. It puts the mask, and if you put white, if you press X, or if you switch the white foreground color, you can bring things back. We'll press X again, and you can take things out. And this gives you that ultimate control capability of using masks. Now I'm going to purposely do a nice little fade here, so it looks like it's diminishing into the background, so it's not so abruptly cut off. So like before, so it kind of looks like it's part of the background of some way or another. For me to do that successfully, I used a soft brush. I used like a hardness of 0, and the size was like 50 pixels for me to apply the mask on this image here. Okay, so that's how masking works. Paint white, paint black, and that's what we did there. And I'll show you some other. I noticed you used the puppy with the eyes of a selection and an adjustment layer. I'm going to show you that later on in another demonstration, maybe a few weeks when we do color correction class, utilizing selections and layer masks and adjustment layers together, which is what a lot of people do for having a more selective approach when it comes to masks and selections, so you can use it together. So for now, just keep it simple and effective by using it this way. Just layer mask and delete the background. Okay. Effects. So the effects will be applied on the, yes.
I'm sorry. For some reason it didn't work for me.
Let me just see quickly here. Let me go back to my screen. Which one? The mask didn't work for you? And this is
the mask.
Deepali. Okay, Deepali, can you well, you want to share your screen, or how do you want to do this?
I'm on a different device, but I can turn the camera on.
Now, maybe I can do it on my end. If you can't share your screen, that's fine. I'll let you try. Oh, there you go. Okay, perfect.
Okay, nice. How do I switch the camera? How do I do that? I don't know how to do that.
Your phone, you mean?
Yeah, I was taking the class on my iPad and I was doing it on my phone. I just don't know how to switch it.
There's a little button that you can switch the camera over.
It should be.
Yeah, like they all have the little. It's like a switch button. But you know what I can do though? I can pretty much guess.
I can explain it. So basically, when I'm
go ahead. Sorry.
So I made another mask layer, and then I'm trying to use the brush on it, but my brush isn't showing up.
I think I know why. Okay, I think this is a common problem that I get sometimes. Let me now get back to my screen and see if this will work this time. Okay, Deepali, let me show you. So sometimes if so you have this gauge select. Let me just delete my layer mask here, okay? I'm gonna delete this layer mask. You want to do that to yours as well to make sure. So just change this, delete this layer mask in the trash. It'll say apply or delete. I'm gonna delete it, so I still have the image of the original gauge that I have, right? So I'm gonna do it again. This time I'm gonna go back here, click on this layer mask button, right? By the way, when I said it's not working, make sure it's normal, your layer. Okay, because if it's not normal, it's gonna do like a blend mode. The mask won't work effectively. So make sure it's set to normal, the layer that you're doing. Two, when you have the layer mask, this is another common thing that happens when you make sure it's the paint, like the brush tool, nothing else. Okay, and the brush tool, make sure you have black and white. Now, when you have black and white selected, make sure the brush size is nice and big. Make sure the brush mode is also normal, because if this is set to like something like this, I mean, they'll still work, but some of them don't work. I forget which one it was, divide or something like that. See, it doesn't work. So make sure the brush is also set to normal. So this goes for everybody, not just Deepali for raising the question. It's a good question. I'm surprised maybe wasn't a few of you that had the same issue, because it does happen for some reason. The settings switch. Make sure this is set to normal, your brush is set to normal, and your layer is also set to normal as far as the layer blend is concerned. And then it should work just fine. Aside from that, I can't think what else it could be for it not to work, but this is when I have to look at your screen again to make sure. But can you try this Dipali first, if it works or not?
It did work. Yeah.
Okay. Can you point out, just out of curiosity, what it was? Was it the layer?
I was trying to do it on, so I can try to show it again.
No, 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 just explain it. Were you like in the right tool, or was it the process?
So basically, here in the mask, when I was doing it here,
Uh-huh.
I was, instead of doing it on the mask one, I was doing it over here, and my brush was so.
Good. Yeah, yeah, I get it now. Right? So Deepali had this layer selected instead of the mask layer selected.
Yeah.
Very good. I mean, good for explaining it and catching it. So if you have this layer selected, all of a sudden you're doing this now. Now you're painting black on the image layer, because don't forget the mask is over here. So make sure you click on the right thumbnail to do the mask. I love it when this happens, because it gives me a chance to further explain what can go wrong. I can't always assume things will go wrong, but when they do, it's better that I explain it, and that's how we learn. Thank you, Deepali, for raising this question, and it's a good one too. Very common thing that happens. Okay, very good. Anybody else? So make sure this happens to you again. Very important. You select because it could get a lot of, it could be a little overwhelming with all these thumbnails and clicking here and clicking there. And what are you selecting? Just keep it simple, and, keep focused on the right thing. So if it's a layer mask, make sure the mask thumbnail is selected prior to you executing the black and white application. Okay. All right, good. So let's keep going then. So now we're down to the effects. Okay, so the effects is going to be applied on the type that's on the left side of the banner. So we're going to twirl down on the triangle on the text folder. We're going to select the text layer and click on the effect button. We're going to add a drop shadow, and we're going to add an outer glow, and we're going to add a bevel and emboss. We're going to add all three things that are quite popular with some of these, titles and headings and stuff. So let's go ahead and identify this layer first. So there's your text layer that it's referring to. You can do the whole folder. So if you do it on the folder, the effect will be applied on both of these, or you can do them individually, right? So let's go ahead and, oh, by the way, we forgot something here. This black strip on the side, it says go to 50% opacity. Let's go ahead and do that. 50% opacity. There it is. So we can kind of see through it. All right, and now these effects will work a little better. I can do either or. Let me put this up a bit. The Photoshop document type, I'm going to double click here. Remember, double click, or you can click on the effects button and click on the desired effect that you're looking for your type. So let's say we're doing a drop shadow. We're going to go right to drop shadow, right? The difference between doing it this way and just double clicking over here, now be careful, because if you double click here, look what can happen. See, clicking is very important. If you double click here, it highlights my text. A good way to do that if you want to. If you double click over here, it'll open up the layer styles panel. What gives you the chance to give you the effect that I just did. So you can do a drop shadow this way, or you can do a drop shadow this way. So I'll do a drop shadow from the list, and this will come up either way. Okay. The difference is it always selects drop shadow for me, and it takes me through the settings so I can apply them accordingly. So you can do the opacity here, the distance. I was way off, right, on the distance there, and just go slightly this way. The angle could be slightly from the top left corner. You can see how the shadow is manifesting right behind the text there. So basically I can control that with, I'll keep it high up there, like in the 90s, maybe 90%. The distance, of course, is how far the shadow is diminishing into the distance. And the spread is how much is spreading into the distance as well. And the size is the overall size. So of course you don't want to make this too much because it looks too blotchy. So I'm going to keep these numbers into the maybe single digits. So I'll do like 9, like 595, right? So these are small numbers, but they work really well. Perfect. Now it's also saying, do some more effects. Outer glow, bevel and emboss, right? I don't think bevel and emboss would look nice on the smaller type because it is too small for the bevel to work, but it will do it on maybe the PS doc file, and the full layers I'll do like an actual glow. So let's go to the full layers text layer, and we'll do another, let's put a drop shadow as well, and then we'll put an outer glow. You don't want to go too excessive on these layer styles because it does diminish from the effect. So try not to go, too many effects at the same time, basically. I'm going to pick out this light color, maybe like a green or like a light orange or something like that, just to kind of spread that out. And I'm going to keep the opacity, the size. You can see how it's glowing, okay? Like that. So the full layers is got a nice little touch of glow in it, like you're selecting it or something, right? Now back to this one, I want to add another effect. So I can either do this in the whole folder, or I can do it individually like I'm doing it right now. So if I double click here, I'll do bevel and emboss, and you can see how it's producing this chiseled effect on my type, and I can control the depth. I can control the size. Of course, you're going to keep that minimal, and I can make it softer by increasing this slider as well. Okay, so I tried all these different effects to my title. And you can see the results here. All right, so it does work quite well, as long as you apply it properly, and then you should have a nice effect result. All right, so this is almost done. We still have to do one more thing here. This will get into more later on with an advanced clipping exercise I'm going to give you on orchestrating this with the pen tool. So I'm going to teach you how to use the pen tool. I know you're doing it probably in Illustrator, but I don't think you've done it in Photoshop before. So I'll show you the advantages of using the pen tool in Photoshop and what for. From a professional production use tool, it's very, very effective and quite, popular with production techniques and stuff. Okay, so we're going to use the pen tool for clipping. For now, we'll just utilize this exercise here and apply it on this. It says turn the visibility on the clip me down layer. Select layer, create clipping mask. So let's see here. This is the clip me down layer. So it's like a texture that we're revealing here. And underneath it, it says Harris Hawk. So the Harris Hawk would be visible. See, there's the hawk right here. Let me just move the hawk this way so you can see nice. Oh, by the way, we should lock these layers so they don't interfere by me moving this here. So I'm gonna see here. Right, this is not explained too well, so I think I'm gonna have to demonstrate this. So basically, you're clipping. Turn the visibility of the clip me down layer on. right? But what it didn't do was execute the clip me down thing, and this is how you do it. You hold Option, and you click between the two layers, like very carefully between this here, okay? You can also right-click and go to create clipping mask, okay? Create clipping mask. You can also Option click between here to do the clipping. So this is called a clipping mask in Photoshop, yes. All right, and you can then click on the object, which is down here, the hawk. Just make sure, I think this is also clip me down. This was an added one. I think it's talking about this one here. There we go. Right, this is the one it's referring to, the clip me down one, okay? But I like to show you, in addition to that, I'll show you this other one here. So you can do either or. I know it's got two clip me downs. It's a little confusing, but I'll do it on this one here. And this one has a screen effect with the fill and stuff. Like, again, you can get more creative when you get to the end of this exercise because you've accomplished all these other important feats. So yeah. So back to this one again. You can do this one as well. The texture. You can put the hawk. Just be careful when you move the hawk. You have to literally turn off auto select layer. This way you can just move the hawk without affecting other layers. All right, if I move the hawk over here, right, you can then turn this layer on top of it on. And clip me down means if you hold Option and you click between the two layers, it'll put the texture inside the hawk. In this case, the clipping that was there from before. And this is how you can orchestrate that or this, whichever one you want to embark on, okay? So turn the visibility on, layer, create clipping mask, okay? So it's under here again. It tells you how to create a clipping mask. So layer, create. So it's right here, clipping mask, okay? Create clipping mask or release clipping mask. Create clipping mask. So it's one or the other, okay? Or just, I like to use Option click. That's a nice one too. All right, saving. This is also very important. I want to show you how to duplicate a version of your work and rename it flattened. And then basically you can flatten a copy and keep the original. You always want to keep the original. This is the original document, which contains many layers and all the work that you did as such. So you want to basically, let's do a save as, okay? And we'll save this as, instead of start, we'll rename it finish. Okay, so finish PSD. I'll save that. And one way to keep a copy of this without flattening the original is to do select image, duplicate, rename, flatten. So this is a very important step right here in terms of producing this as a mock-up and send to, whoever you want to send a proof to, because nobody can open Photoshop files but us. So if you want to show this to the rest of the world or your client or whoever you're doing this for, you want to give them a flattened version that they can open, like a JPEG or a TIFF. In this case, they use the TIFF because it's a target image format for printing. We can use any format you want. Just go to image duplicate. Okay, so when you do image duplicate, what's happening is the image composition that we're creating is duplicating into another document. So this will be called flattened version. Okay. And you have an option to duplicate merge layers only. Okay. I'm just going to click OK. Right. So it's like a copy of it. And then we're going to flatten the image. So this is a copy of this. Oh, let me close this down. So I just made another copy, right? The same size. I'll just make it 150% zoom. Right? So it's the same thing, except we duplicated it. And the intent here is to go to flatten the image. Okay, so we have one image flat, and you can edit this. This is strictly for sending it to people. So save as, and you can pick any format. So if you do like a save as, let me check the image mode. This is RGB color. So I'm going to do save as on the computer, flattened version, PSD. There's the TIFF. TIFF is very good for printing, by the way. It's an older format. All the scanners by default used to use TIFF. I believe it stands for Target Image File Format, so it's a popular one. So people can't even open this, by the way. So if you want to send it, just do a JPEG if you want to send it to someone, right? If you guys want to do JPEGs, it's fine for this. You don't have to do a TIFF, although the exercise says TIFF, that's fine. Just want to make sure you're able to produce a recognizable format, because Photoshop, a lot of people won't be able to open it. So let's go with the TIFF here, save, and we'll do an image compression of none, and everything will be by default here. Just click OK. And then we'll do another one. Okay, we'll do another save as, or save a copy if you want to call it. We'll do a JPEG this time. Okay, we'll save that as a JPEG. A JPEG is a compressed format. It stands for Joint Photographic Export Group, and these are the people that invented the compression. And you see how popular JPEGs are because it's used all over the map, like web. Your telephone takes pictures of JPEGs. It's pretty much all the way around us. It revolutionized the image industry, this format right here. So you can go max it out. 12 is the maximum quality for the JPEG. The format option, we'll keep it optimized. There's also standard. This is how it's formatted. Okay, it doesn't make a big difference in terms of the size. This is 479.2K. This is 468, and progressive is the same thing. This is the older technology when the monitors would progressively load the photo one chunk at a time. Please, you know, basically stay away from this option. You don't have to use it anymore. Just go with standard. All right, click OK. So abstain from that one if you can. And I saved both formats. You can then close this one, you can close that one, and this exercise is finished. If you haven't had a chance to do it with me now, because I know it could be difficult to do it at the same time I'm explaining it, maybe you can do it again when you watch this video, if you're watching it now, and submit it to me by next week, okay? Because just an in-class exercise I want you to work on. Alrighty, so I'm not gonna save that, I'll close it down. So this is the result. There's my TIFF. There's my JPEG, right? They both look the same, right? I'm going next and previous, right? They both look the same. Now, let's see, I want your participation in this one. And there's the Photoshop file, right? There's the Photoshop file. Let's look at the file size. How many of you think the largest file out of all these would be the Photoshop file? How many of you think that Photoshop will be like the biggest document size out of all these three? Let me see hands up. How many of you think Photoshop would be the larger file? Okay, so get a good number of you, and that's a good guess because normally you would think Photoshop should have the largest file because it is the native working format. So yes, Photoshop should be the largest file. How many of you think TIFF would be the largest file? Let me just see quickly how many of you think that. So TIFF. All right, so I got a good handful of you thinking TIFF has the largest file. Good. And how many of you think that JPEG might be the largest file? Because they all look kind of identical, right? Any JPEG fans out there? We did max it out, so hey, you never know, right? Okay, I got a few of you going with JPEG. Okay, so I like the mix of answers. Very good. So here's the truth, okay? JPEG. Let's open it right now. I'm gonna press Command I or Control I. Okay, here's the JPEG. And here's the size. 481 million bytes, or let's go kilobytes. 483K on disk, so 483 kilobytes. Let's go with the Photoshop file. The Photoshop file, because it's a native version of it, is 13.4 megabytes. Wow, what a difference. So it's bigger by like, you know, like 1,000% basically. Okay, so it's quite large. This is like 488. Let's round it off to 500 kilobytes. This is half of a megabyte. The Photoshop file is 13 and a half megabytes. 13 and a half compared to half. So it's quite larger than the JPEG. This is why JPEG is a popular format. And look, when you see it, it looks the same. Like when you see this preview and preview, the output is the same as far as delivering the work, right? Now let's look at the TIFF. And the TIFF file is 2 megabytes. Okay, so it's kind of in between the Photoshop and the JPEG, but it gives you more, it packs more punch in terms of quality. So if you're printing this, I would still trust the TIFF for printing. I would make sure it's CMYK, by the way, not RGB. So I would definitely use this to give to my printer and print it. The Photoshop file would be for me to keep. It's obviously the biggest one, 13 and a half megs compared to 2 megs, which is great for printing. And of course, if I'm putting this on the internet, like a website on social media, I would do a JPEG. So the order is Photoshop, TIFF, and then JPEG. This is how the order is in size comparisons. And yeah, good guesses, everyone. That's good. You know, I threw a curveball on you with this JPEG because I did max it out. Sometimes I know JPEG has even less quality, believe it or not. You can put it on. But this is how it goes. Photoshop file ideally usually is the largest file. And then comes with the special like TIFF, EPS. Okay, if you do vector files and stuff, some other formats, those are good. And then comes the web formats like JPEG, PNGs, even GIFs or GIFs. And those are the main ones that you're going to be using throughout the course of your school semester or even professionally as well. Okay. All right, so let's close these down. I'm gonna use shortcuts here. Command W. There we go. All right. So hope you had fun with that exercise. That was so this is due next week, like I said. So now moving our focus on the poster again. If we're gonna do like maybe like the setup or the size, I think I went over like just quickly, briefly explaining it to you. But if you have any questions on that, let's just say you're actually doing it and you want to, you know, apply some of these important criteria points. Let me go over that as well, because you still have, you know, like tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. It's like half a week, if not more, to get this done. So there's the movie poster. So I said the size is 17 by 11 inches. That's like a tabloid size. That example I gave you earlier, that job that I was doing for the 3D printer resin material, that's the same size that I used, except it was folded in half. Because if you do half of 17 by 11, it's 8.5 by 11. Because 8.5 plus 8.5 is 17. So it's like 2 pages side by side. And if you fold them, you have a nice little booklet or brochure to give out to whatever. We're doing trade shows and stuff like that. So this is why we have to have these materials ready. Okay, and the resolution, of course, is 300, and the color mode is CMYK. So this is the thing you got to do for your poster. Okay, and you can come up with any type of nice movie theme that you like. Now I do have some resources here just to kind of reiterate some of these points. I want to make sure everyone's clear on the delivery of this. So I'm going to basically recreate this right now today. With Photoshop to get you started. If you haven't started, make sure you do it now. I mean, honestly, this shouldn't take you more than, you know, a couple of hours, maybe more. You can invest, you know, maybe 10 hours, 5 hours, maybe a couple of hours. It's easier if you have a theme in mind, if you have your work ready, if you have your thumbnails, images, everything prepared. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and set this up quickly and utilize this other file that I have here for you for the activity. So if you go up here under class modules, module 5 review. It's called Deserted Island Exercise. So this was when we did this in class, I told the students, let's come up with a theme. And I had some interior design students and some other ones, and we stuck with this, I guess, deserted island, because then you can build your own structures and create your own private island. So it was a kind of nice little fantasy, I guess, theme. Buildings.zip is the file. So if I go ahead and download this on the desktop, okay, let's go ahead and save. That's exactly that. Let's extract the folder. This just saves us time. I used to go to the internet and ask the students to get images and stuff. And here we have a picture of the tallest structure in the world, the Burj Khalifa, okay, the building. Then you have the Eiffel Tower. This is the deserted island that we put together. This is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. This is the Egyptian pyramid. This is the Statue of Liberty. Okay, so we have a few very popular monuments all over the world. We have the Taj Mahal, and we have the CN Tower. So all these are very popular monuments. And what better yet than to put all these into one amalgamated creative um, creative theme. So we're going to do the island theme. We're going to make like a movie poster of this by putting our world structure in there. We'll call it the island or something. We'll make up our own movie or whatever, right? So it's a good review to cover some of the more traditional selection exercises that we used in the first couple of weeks of this class. Okay, I know I showed you some more advanced stuff along the way, like layer masking and quick masking and stuff. So maybe I'll mix it up a little bit just to go over the important fundamentals. Because going forward, I mean, we're gonna keep using selections, of course, but in different forms, right? So let's start with the actual a file. So let's say we're doing a movie poster with these buildings and we're calling it The Island or something, and we're going to have some fun with it. I'm going to create a file. So file new. We're going to go to print. Okay. And this is where you got to go with tabloid. This is the movie poster size, 11 by 17. And usually they're vertical. Okay. So you're going to have a vertical or a portrait format. The resolution is 300 because as soon as you click on the print settings, it gives you all this. So RGB color, white background, all this stuff is set up for you. Make sure artboards is disabled because we don't need artboards. We're just doing one. And that's for when you do multiples. So we're going to keep that off. And we're going to hit create. And this is what your poster might look like from the starting point. And then you just amalgamate images on it. And that's how you do the design. So now we're going to use these images in combination to make it look like a poster. Okay. So you can drag and drop, or you can go file, place embedded. I'm also going to discuss the difference between embedded and linked, and I'll go over this again another time just to give you different examples. But this is the one that used to be the staple of the program. Like this didn't exist. It was always this one. As a matter of fact, if I taught you this 5 years ago, you might just have something called file, place. There was no difference between embedded and link. They were the same thing, which meant embedded. Embedded means whatever you bring in Photoshop, it's part of the program. It's not linked as an external source, like something InDesign references external linked images that supplement the overall design of the layout. Same as your web pages, they also use linked sources, which you reference for image source in your HTML tag to be linked on your web pages. So this process is important, and it's good for you to edit external sources and they automatically update in your main website or layout. Same like Photoshop, you could do that, but embedded works just as easy because let's just say you accidentally lose the link of the original file, it'll compromise your delivery. So you got to be very tentative to all these things. So I would just be safer on the matter and just use embedded for now. And then we'll look at the difference, okay? So we're going to go to the desktop here, the buildings. We're going to grab this island. We're going to place the island as the background. So it's a JPEG file. Let's place it. I don't know if we can do all these buildings tonight, but I'll do enough to get you guys started, okay? You don't have to even do this. You can just watch me or you can just have some fun with it. I'm holding shift. I'm just resizing this, island back and forth, right? Like that. I mean, it was already placed the way I wanted it, so that's fine. I'll move it slightly to the bottom. Why the bottom? Because I have this empty blue space here that I can utilize. And this image is placed. So when you place an image, it's a smart object. Remember, I explained what smart objects were last week. So maybe we'll just fit it here like this, just kind of tight fit it. Right. So I'm going to rasterize the layer. And the reason is because I want to stretch this blue all the way to the background. So I can just go to rasterize layer over here. Now, this is a little trick I'm going to show you, a very, very nice little trick on extending backgrounds. This is quite the distance, by the way, so I'll see how it works. I hope it's going to be just fine. I'm going to grab this as much as I can of this blue type of gradient background on this image here. I will go to the Move tool and just press Edit Free Transform. By doing that, I'm able to stretch this background all the way up and just cover the white space with that nice blue background. By pressing Enter and deselecting my selection, I was able to blend the background quite nicely with the color. Now, I'm going to undo this. Alternatively, what you can also do is basically fill this color with this same color here. To do that, I'll use the eyedropper tool and I'll sample the darkest pixel, which is right near the top of the blue that I have here. You can see how the colors change when you sample the color. And I'll pick the darkest one if I can. And then by having this blue color selected as my primary foreground color, I can basically go back to the paint bucket. Remember the paint bucket tool right here? You can just click on this top layer on the island to cover it as well. So either one works, and then maybe this one gives me a little bit of a film behind, but nonetheless, you can always address that with the eraser tool or the blend tool to make it work. Okay, so you can use any method that works to extend these images if you have to. Now for this background part, I know I got to fill this out somehow. I can either stretch this down or I can fill it with some kind of AI components which are available right now. So let's see which one works better. I like to explore the program. I'll select the bottom piece because these are abstract type of, like, if you have like sky or something that's going into the distance in perspective, it might work. So if I press Command T, stretch this down, you see it kind of does give me the leverage of doing this. Right? It looks a little distorted, but nonetheless, I can still get away with it and it'll produce that effect that I want. Like you're walking to the island and you have this now. The trick was to use the fulfillment of the images to match my format. Because I took an image that was landscape and I wanted to fit it into a vertical format. Well, that's impossible unless you stretch the image. You don't want to do that, obviously. So you want to compensate for the empty space. Okay. All right, and obviously you don't want to do this. I mean, I still see this sometimes, so I got to show it to you because I want to make sure none of you do this. Okay, this is a big no-no. Okay, because you can see how horrible that looks, right? It doesn't look that bad actually, but yeah, you can see here it looks pretty bad with the trees. So you don't want to do that. You want to be able to compensate for the image. Now I could stretch it slightly to the argument of doing it. I could still kind of do this, right? It might still work okay. You can stretch it a bit because it's trees and you don't have any people there. You're not stretching any individuals or something notable. So you could stretch some images to some degree, but it's always advisable to keep the proportions perfectly. Now let's see how AI can do the trick. I'm going to hide the background. As a matter of fact, I'll delete the background layer. I'm going to use the magic wand. Okay, I'm going to go to View and show my under Window. Okay, Contextual taskbar. This is when AI was introduced into Photoshop last year. It was the very first time. So I was quite pleased to see the AI integration. So when you do have this visible, what happens is now you can just click on this empty space, and I'll just click on this generative fill, okay, and I'll leave this field blank. See, it says, what would you like? Usually you put a prompt and you say, give me fish in the water or whatever. You're going to probably get fish in the water, right? Here, let me go fish in the water. I'm just going to, curious to see what happens. Generate. It's like using the Dalis or the Leonardos and stuff. Fish in the water. So he gave me the whole, like it didn't do a bad job. It covered this out. But I don't see any. Oh, there's the fish. That was this out of all of them, this is probably the best one because you can't see the fish in that one. So kind of put fish in the water with this image here. I'm pretty impressed actually. It's not bad. Okay, and I can generate more alternative options. We can see here now I got these weird looking fish, like more like eels in the water. Okay. Now another option, okay, in addition to this with AI and Photoshop, I'm going to press undo. I'm going to do generative fill, but this time I'm going to put nothing. I'm just going to hit generate. What Photoshop is going to do, it's going to know that I'm not really looking for anything in particular, but I am looking to fill that space with something that's pertaining to the image around it. So let's see how AI will integrate. See, so there it is. So it didn't do exactly that. It compensated for the space. And if I do this one here or this one over here, I think out of all three, maybe I'll stick with this one. So it's less distorted. It's more kind of rustic, old looking. So maybe that's how you can utilize this AI to fill your areas with images that don't really exist. Okay. So that was pretty good. I'm going to get rid of this contextual taskbar sometimes. I'll give it a nice good rating so it knows. Well, I'm going to do this right now. And we'll do the hide bar option. Okay. Same with this. So notice what it did. It made like a mask. It put this on top of the layer. So I'm just going to go and flatten these two layers. So I'm going to select both of these layers, right click, and we'll do what's called flatten image, okay? Because it's a flattened background. I want to slightly like take off the lock quickly just to transform the background because I do want to just stretch this out a bit more. I'll delete this blue. I'll take this out just to stretch, not too much though. Breaking some rules here, okay? All right, so I can still kind of get away with it. I mean, still better than stretching the whole image, obviously. I maximize this background for my next step into creating this paradise island of these buildings, okay? So I'm going to basically utilize these images here. Now, there's a few ways of incorporating them. Some of them involve you opening them individually, or you can just drag and drop. I prefer individually because a lot of these are, come with backgrounds. If you search these images on the internet, this is what you'll get. So if I go after, let's say, the Eiffel Tower or, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, like all these images have backgrounds, to just bring it in here, right, and press enter, I'll have to layer mask the image to get rid of the background. And that's fine too, right? Sometimes that's the things you need to do. But just to make it a little faster and easier on you to execute, and I do want to make sure I point out I need you to demonstrate layer masks. So we'll do it for some of these. Maybe I'll do it for this one here, right? So let's go ahead and bring maybe the Statue of Liberty. There it is. Okay, so Statue of Liberty is here. Press the enter button, and there's this image that I want to position right there. I will make it a little smaller. Put it right in this position here. And now if I want this image to look like it's part of my island, I obviously have to get rid of the background. So lo and behold, I have to make sure I zoom into a good amount here. I'm going to apply a layer mask. So a layer mask, reveal all. Okay, so there's the layer mask, and then use the actual brush tool and using black and white, get rid of the background. Now the faster way to do this, and I want to point this out because you've earned it by now, you've done enough brushing and layer masking and stuff, is you can make a selection and then you can utilize the layer mask as well. So to do that, let's use some of our traditional tools like the quick selection tool, for example. Okay, that one you can just click on different parts of the image here like this. Be careful though, because it's going to make the brush a little smaller. All right, so I'm just going to click on these images here and here and there and here. Make sure I'm in the right layer, of course, when I do this. Okay, I can press Q. Remember the quick mask mode, back and forth. So once I have a selection, I can then do what's called a layer mask. Okay, I can fill it black. Whoops, sorry. I gotta invert the selection first. Select inverse. And I'm gonna do black. So Option Delete is to fill black, right? So let me just back that up slowly here, okay? So I have a selection, but I wanna select not the Statue of Liberty, but the background, which I wanna get rid of the clouds and stuff. So I'm gonna do select inverse, which selects the background, and then I'm gonna apply the black fill, which is edit, fill, and I'm gonna select foreground color, which is the black, okay? Or you can just select black here and just hit OK. And then it'll give you the nice transparency that you're looking for. Now that you have the mask selected, you're well in control to add or subtract with black and white parts that you don't want that's in the mask. For example, whoops, I gotta be back in the brush tool now, and I can then definitely go in there and delete the parts that I don't want. I'm gonna make the hardness maybe 90 and the size 9. And I'm just gonna get rid of this parts here, right? I know it's quite tedious, but this is how you can get a perfect selection or execution on your images in the software. That's where you have to invest some time and stuff. I'm not gonna get too detailed on this, but just enough to show you the execution part, and overall you see the results. Okay, so this is how you can kind of take this layer mask to a new level. You can do it all with the brush. You can make a selection and then make the layer mask and then fill it black or white to do that. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, this is the pyramid. This one's quite easy. If you want to do things like that, you want to just open this in Photoshop first, separately. So notice I opened the pyramid separately into Photoshop. The reason why I chose the pyramid is because it's a quite easy. A lot of these buildings are easy to execute with, like, remember the polygonal lasso tool? It's very like elastic and it's geometrical. So you can just go like click and click and click and click all the way. I can get some of the background if I want, all the way across, all the way this way. I could have used the magnetic lasso tool, right? Whichever one. I made the selection of my target, and all I have to do now is do copy, Control C or Command C on a Mac, go to the Move tool, Command V, which is paste, and position it to the right place. And I will press Command T, hold Shift, and resize the pyramid. Now I know the pyramid is a lot bigger than the Eiffel Tower in real life, But for now, I'm just kind of keep it all within a different perspective here. Okay, so the pyramid is there. I can even do like a layer mask on the pyramid, so it looks like it's appearing like it's in behind the trees if I want. Okay, so for that, I'm gonna have to do another layer mask here. Remember this we did with the helicopter last week? Go with the brush tool, make the brush tool nice and big, and erase parts of the pyramid that we want to cover, so make it look like it's behind the trees. A nice little review on this implementation. I'm going to press X again and just basically bring back some of these pixels that are on these trees to make it look like it's like in the background, right? Nice way to implement layer masking with images, right? All right, the next one we want, so we close it down once we open it. The next one, let's say, is the Leaning Tower. Again, you can open this separately in Photoshop as a separate image. You could use a selection method. In this case, I might use the, let's try the, I don't know, like we can use the magnetic. I mean, honestly, this is like the new tool that came out, the object selection tool. It is quite nice. So if you just do this with it, right, it will do a nice target selection of what you want. In this case, it'll do that. And you can press quick mask mode, Q, remember Q on and off. And you can go in there in quick mask mode and basically select parts of the image that you want and parts that you don't want. Remember with the brush, press X and you can add or delete stuff with the brush tool. So maybe I don't want these people like to come along. I just want the structure. So I'm just gonna just cover this area up with pink. I can't do nothing about these people here, so I'll leave it alone. But all this stuff can go. Okay, so I'm gonna just, and yeah, so just do that. You can clean it up whichever way. Press Q again. The selection is targeting the building, so I'm just gonna hit Command C, go back here, Command V, and this is the other structure that I have. So I'll make it a little smaller here, and this could be my other building on my private island, okay, with our world famous architecture. So we're going to keep going here with these other buildings if we want. Some other techniques we can incorporate here. Let's open the CN Tower. Okay, for this one, I would strategically crop this image first, use the crop tool. I would crop it maybe from the sides first, from the top down. Like I don't want these buildings, maybe I want part of them. Press enter, right? So what's a quick way to select this image? I'll maybe resort to the magic wand because not always this works, right? Sometimes you have to use the magic wand, especially with a background like this one. I just go select with shift. So I basically selected the background, okay, like that. Press Q, quick mask mode, make sure I got everything. If not, I can fix it here with the brush tool, right? I can fix whatever I want or I don't want. Press Q again. It's a good back and forth testing procedure. Now I'm going to do select inverse, which means I'm selecting the area that I do want, which is part of the buildings, part of the CN Tower, not the background. You can see here it's not the background. I'm going to press Command or Control C, go back to the original image, to the Move tool, Command V or paste, and move this over here. Press Command T and move the building right where it's supposed to go. All right. Another way to amalgamate images, I should name the layers, but I'm just going to leave it for now because I'm sure I can identify each one. All right. The Burj Khalifa, here's another one here. You can right click, open it with Photoshop. So a lot of these images I'm opening up separately. They work a little better that way because then you can use the crop tool, crop the images first. Right. This one, I'll just remove the background, just another technique I'll reiterate here. Magic eraser tool, remember this one? You click on the background, click here, click over here. You can just get rid of the background this way if it works, right? Then you can just use the move tool, drag and drop. Whoops, wrong one. Oh, I think I lost it here. Okay, wrong one. So let's put this one away. So when you have multiple images open, that's what happens. Here it is. No, that's not either. Here it is here. Let's save this before I lose it. It's still untitled and it's still in work mode. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as, on my computer. I'm going to call it poster size island exercise. So this could be like your movie poster example. I'll save it as a Photoshop document into my buildings folder, save. All right. So I'm going to go ahead now and use the Burj Khalifa building here that I extracted it from the background. Simply drag and drop this over to this tab. Keep dragging my mouse, holding it on, releasing it, and placing it right there. I can just move it over. I can also resize it or just leave it alone. All right, I'll resize it slightly. It is a tall structure, so I'll make it taller than the CN Tower. Technically, it is taller from what I hear. I haven't seen it myself personally, but I heard it's the tallest one. All right, let's look at the Eiffel Tower. Here's another one here. Let's open this one with Photoshop. I like to utilize first we'll brighten this up a little bit. It does look a little dull. So we're definitely going to use the adjustment layer here. And we can do what's called, so we can do like a nice effect with the classic look. Or we can just do the proper adjustment. Like brightness and contrast is a popular one, because this one definitely increases the brightness and the contrast of the image to definitely bring out those values. And you can see here that was quite needed. So just by doing that alone, we're able to fix the picture up. Okay, before and after. So we're going to do some of these things later with a more targeted approach. All right, so for now, I'm just going to hit Command E. I'll just merge it down so it becomes part of the image. Watch this again. Right click, merge down. Merge down means make it so, basically, because I can extract it, copy and paste it, right? Same thing with the crop tool here. I'm just going to crop it quickly this way and that way, right? And one way to select this one again is using the magic wand. I love the magic wand, as you can see. Click on the background, maybe increase the tolerance, or just hold shift and click on the other parts, right? Another way to do it is the new integrated, because this quick selection tool, you'll be having like a field day. Look all the little details you got to grab, and forget about this inside stuff. It's going to take you forever. I mean, it'll take you at least a couple of hours, okay? But utilizing this tool here, the object selection tool, if you just roll over slowly, patiently, and just wait and click, it'll just select the area for you. And of course, if you want to get to little details inside, you have to do it manually, okay? Alrighty, so I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this here. Copy. So copy and paste is another good way to bring images into other images. And there it is. As soon as you enter, you got the Eiffel Tower. It's a lot smaller than the other ones actually. It's taller than the Statue of Liberty though. Make it more realistic, I guess. Auto select layer. Let's make it a little smaller. Right, something like that. Nowhere near as tall as the CN Tower, of course. All right, so one more. We're going to get into, I think we got all of them except the Taj Mahal. Let's not leave it behind. We're going to open this one, but let's bring it in as is. Let me just show you another way to do it, right? So here's Taj Mahal. Tell you what, I'm going to put it on top of my layer list here, and I'm going to hide these other layers. So I'm just going to go hide, 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 and just have this image visible so I can focus on it, right? So again, same technique you can apply here. You can use the selection tool and target your selection this way. So I'm just going to target this part of the building here, right? I can hold shift and add a little more from this side. I think I'm good with this. So I'm just going to extract this selection from this image just by pressing Command J or copy and paste. So I have a new layer, dump the layer before that. Now I'm left with this layer here. All right. And then I can definitely utilize this as my selection as well. I don't want these other towers, just to kind of keep it simpler. So I'm going to grab it again from here. And I'm going to go like that. Again, select the right layer, Command J, delete the previous layer. Now I got my target more closely affiliated, okay? All right, and to get rid of the background here, I mean, I can use another selection tactic. Let's bring it up a little bit first with our adjustment layers. So I'm going to do brightness and maybe levels of this one. This is another popular one. It's called levels. Okay, I love the levels because this really controls the dark. And oh, there's a whole image though. So I got to be careful to do it only on that picture separately, right? To do that, I'm going to have to obviously do Option drag. So it only affects this picture. Watch this again. To apply this only to, just close this down. I did a levels a layer adjustment because I only want it to be on this layer. I could have made a selection, but in this case, it's just on top of it. So if I indent this only to this layer by holding Option click, it'll apply to this layer, okay? And then I would just simply go to, or just go like this, right click, and you can just go to create clipping mask. Same deal, right? Then I'm gonna double click here, right? And just control the, whoops. Cancel. It's under here. Double clicking too many times. There we go. So just click on it, and you could adjust the dark and light values here with this adjustment layer. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit. I think the quad is not that good to begin with, so maybe I'll go with this one for now. All right, that's fine. And I'm just going to select both of these layers now. Command E or just merge layers, so it's only applying on this one. I don't know what that did really. They didn't really do much, I think, but whatever it was, you can still utilize it for what it is, okay? So again, Command E. Let's go ahead and maybe we'll do like a mask for this one. We'll try this, deselect it with the magic wand. Click on the background with Shift. We'll press Q, like quick mask mode. You can see this image is giving me a little bit of a tougher time because it's very light and the background was light. It's not like we got the blue sky with the marble, ivory colors. So I'm just going to use the quick mask mode for this, use the brush tool and just fix it this way. Honestly, another way would be for me to like outline this with the pen tool. The pen tool would give me like the best result because then I can really, really get these nice curves and geometry all perfectly executed. And for that, we'll use it for more geometrical shapes. Like if you use like vehicles and buildings and stuff, that's when the pen tool is really, really handy when it comes to selections in Photoshop. So for now, I'll go with this one. I'll press Q again. I'll delete the background layer. I'll deselect it, and this could be my other buildings, part of my other building structure. Okay, so I'm going to press there, press enter. I don't know where this can go. Maybe it can go right in the pathway here, but first I want to see how the other layers are situated. So I do have too many things in there already, so I'm going to just move it over here. Right, move it over right there. Perfect space filler for the rest of the structures. All right, and as you can see, I created my own island from world famous architecture and structures around the world, or buildings or towers or whatever you want to call them. And I was able to assemble a nice assembly here with everything together. All right, lastly, I'll put like a title here, and maybe if you're doing a movie poster, of course, you want to put the credits and make it look like an authentic poster. So I'll leave that up to you. But what I'm going to do is just going to simply put the title um, techniques again. I will grab some of this water here, this pathway, and make that the title just to show you how to copy and paste extracted type, because I know this was something else that people ask me questions about. The not just the type tool, but the type mask tool. So again, how does that work? You pick a heavy font. You got to make sure you pick like impact or something really bold. Pick your big point size, like 70, 80. If you're not sure, just click once and you can see the size right there. You can always increase it to like, like 89 or something like that, right? And then you can see how this shows up. Right, you can type in island poster, right? Whatever. And having said that, you can move it around. But I'd like to make it bigger. Watch this other shortcut. Command Shift later greater than. Here, you know what? I'm gonna make this 120 points, right? And after that, I'm gonna move it down here so it covers this area of my pathway, right? I'm gonna click outside. When I click outside, it makes the selection of what I did. Now I'm gonna do copy and paste or Command J. Okay, and I'm gonna move this all the way up here, top of the list, go to the move tool. Whoops, wrong one. You can actually select just the layer, take off auto select and just move it up here like that, right? So it's auto selects the layer. And then I have my type nicely emphasized. And this could be part of my heading for my poster, my title, whatever I want to do with it. I might want to add an additional effects on here. I'm going to double click. We're going to do a nice, outer glow perhaps. We'll make it nice and bright. Maybe we'll make it like a blue type of glow, like a light blue. We can definitely drop down the size so it's not so bright. And the spread, of course, we can give it a nice. I'm just gonna go all out to show you the possibilities. Normally you don't want to put more than 2 effects on this. Even the glow might not work, whatever, that's for you to try out. Let's try a stroke. Okay, so they'll definitely pop out nice like that. I'll keep it white at 8 points. Sure, that's fine. And maybe we'll do the drop shadow if that works, right? And again, I mean, you have to just sometimes go with 1 effect. Sometimes it's enough. 2 might be too many, so on and so forth, right? So this will definitely bring out the title a little more and, call it out like that, okay? So I just took out some selections from the image and it kind of lines up nicely with my theme. All right, so this is, again, just make sure your movie poster that's due this week, which is Sunday, I gave you the max amount of time available for the end, matches the size, the resolution. Make sure the mode is also CMYK. Let me change that right now. Don't merge, keep it all together. And I'm going to put don't rasterize. That's fine. All right, so now it's CMYK mode, which means if I print it, it'll be perfect for that. All right, also my size is set to, this is pixels. So if I go to inches, it is 17 by 11 inches at 300 dots per inch, which is equivalent to 3,300 pixels by 5,100 pixels. And the image size is 64 megabytes. All right. So now I save this as a Photoshop file, right? And I'm ready to hand it in. So you can give me the Photoshop file with your layers, with everything else, and it should be good to go. Now, let's say your image size is 72. I made exceptions before because not all images are good sometimes from the internet, even these, like, they're not bad, but there's some better images you can get online or other sources. You can make this 200 resolution just to make it smaller in file size, because sometimes it might turn out to be like 500 megs. Honestly, 200 is also good. between 200 and 300, you won't see much of a difference, okay? So if you want to get away with some file sizes, look, it went out to 28 megs instead of 64. So if you want to just make it, honestly, go to 200 for now because it's a school project. It'll save you tons of size, less problems. Your computer won't crash. You can upload it on Blackboard, no problem. Stick with 200. You don't have to do 300, and I'll accept that, okay? Go ahead and hit save, and this is your file to hand in, okay? So everything on the checklist that I did today, maybe like blend modes and stuff I gotta incorporate. Let me actually do one blend mode effect. Let's just take this, I don't know, whoops, auto select layer. Let's take the Statue of Liberty, for example. I don't know if this is the right idea, but whatever, we'll try it out. This is a really bad example, but I'll do it anyways. Um, so this could be something that's resonating from the original Statue of Liberty, but I will change a different blend mode for this. Okay, so I'll do something like pin light, and I'm going to reduce the opacity. So it's kind of in the background. So I'm using a pin light blend mode effect just to kind of cover all angles with the extra size. And I don't want this bottom part. So I'm just going to go to the layer mask, use my brush tool, increase my brush size, just basically press on the black foreground color and get rid of that some of that stuff there. Right, so I do want that like in the background or something. Okay, so there's now incorporating layer masks, quick masks, selections, blend modes, layer styles, layer effects. Everything on the criteria for the poster is included. And if you haven't done so, you still have a few days to do this. And again, please keep the resolution down to 200 just to save us some file space. And the quality, trust me, when you print 200, 300, you can't even tell the difference. I wouldn't go less than, then you're compromising quality. Professionally, you want to stick with 300 just to kind of meet the benchmark, but 200 is just as good. I even printed stuff at 100. It was still not bad, per se. So that's just depending on the job and the format too. If you're printing like large format, you got to be a little more careful. Just saw some parts over here I missed because then, it gets more pixelated and more noticeable, right? Okay, so I'm going to hit save. And I hope, this kind of demonstrated the whole aspect of approaching this properly. I hope this kind of helps you if you still haven't figured out how to approach this or how to manage some of the particulars that I expect you to deliver. And that's it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this again. And let's see the file size. Like I got lots of layers here. Okay, maybe a dozen layers or so, maybe a little less. If I go to my image size, this is a Photoshop file. Let's see how big it is. 59 megs. So it's not that bad. Okay, 59 megs. If it's under 100 megs, you should be good to go. And no problem into handing this in into Blackboard. Okay, so how to hand this in? Just quickly, you know how to hand projects in by now, but just to make sure you do it right. When you go to your, calendar or assignments, whatever's due, because sometimes you're going to get an error saying, oh, it's too big, wait it out. Sometimes waiting it out, it'll still work. I forgot the limit for this thing, but I think it's like in the hundreds of megs, even a gigabyte. Although I don't like when you submit gigabyte files. Errors are bound to happen. So just make sure you do it properly. Movie poster project. Go down here, hit the submit button, and you should do it this way. Okay. So I hope I did nice and clear demonstration on this whole thing. I think we're doing well so far. Next week, we're going to switch up gears a bit. We're going to get into some more advanced image color correction, cloning, and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really fun. So stay tuned for that. And I think we're done for tonight. All right, so I'm going to stop this recording and then see if you guys have any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Oh, there was a question. I do apologize. Habib, go ahead. Did you have a question? Or maybe that was from before. let me know. If it is, that's fine, or just point it out. All right. So having said that, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson video again. I'm going to be stopping the recording here, and I'm going to see you all in the next video. Okay, so bye for now, and have yourself a great night. Okay, see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. All right, stop recording. All right.